Hello, Steve. Finally, I can get to talk to you.
Hey Mario, how are you doing?
Good, good. I'm excited for today's show.
Yeah, that sounds great.
All right, so Steve, can you tell? Our audience, I've told a bit about you to our audience before the show, the pre-show, and everything, and so you've been on many shows. So how long have you been doing hypnosis?
Since well, professionally since 1985, but altogether since 1982.
Okay, 1982, and what is it like the most that like how did you start it? Like what got to you that you wanted to do this so much?
Well, I got a book on hypnosis when I was in high school. I was in military school. A lot of people's parents threatened them with sending them to military school, but mine actually did. And so there I was in Riverside Military Academy in Gainesville, Georgia, and I got a book on hypnosis called The Complete Guide to Hypnosis by Leslie LeCron. It was anything but complete, but it was enough to get a kid started in hypnosis. I started reading it and started making my roommates do funny things, like scratching their nose when they heard the word pepper, things like that. Well, it wasn't long before the smart kids came to me wanting to study more efficiently, and the athletes came to me wanting to exercise better, get more out of their exercise. And all these years later, it's still the same thing I was doing in high school as a kid, except now the smart kids are the Dodgers baseball team, or the athletes of the Dodgers baseball team, and the smart kids are NASA.
Okay, so that's how you started studying hypnosis, and I've never been hypnotized, but can anybody get hypnotized, or just certain people? Like because sometimes, like you've seen, they make fun of people that they dance like a chicken or anything, but and they have like the crystal ball or whatever, not the ball, but the thing that dangles. So, but I'm sure it's not like that at all when you hypnotize someone.
Well, that's stage hypnosis. And to answer your first question, can anyone be hypnotized? There's a scale that was developed by Harvard and Stanford, which ranks everyone on what they call susceptibility. I like to use the word suggestibility. I've actually recently, after I got my doctorate in education, I've recently revised this scale, and I've renamed it the suggestibility scale, as it properly should be. It ranks everyone, gives them a numeric value of how suggestible they are. Some people are very suggestible. Some people are only minorly suggestible. Those who are very suggestible are great candidates for what you were talking about, which would be a stage hypnosis show. Now, understand that I do clinical hypnotherapy in an office, helping people lose weight, stop smoking, etc. But in a stage hypnosis show, people go on stage and they're made to act like they're Madonna, sing into their shoe, thinking it's a microphone, things like that. You would have to score very highly on that test in order to be that suggestible.
Okay, so it's not just anybody that can do it. And when you hypnotize someone, how does the process go? How do you go about hypnotizing? You have to get them in a trance or something for that
Yeah, well,
that
when I
effect,
hypnotize someone, right, and hypnosis is defined as a trance.
right?
So I use a five-part process. I use an induction, which is a walk along the beach or a walk in the woods, something they find relaxing. We do that for about 10 minutes. And then a deepening, which is the sun setting, for example, as I count from 10 to 1. And then we move into the script itself, which is the where I'm programming them, change, stopping smoking, being more motivated, overcoming fear of flying, etc. And then amnesia, where I cause them to have a difficult recollection of this session so they don't pick it apart. And then transtermination, where I bring them back up out of hypnosis.
Oh, okay. And when during hypnosis, do they how do they remember anything, or you could erase their memory of being hypnotized?
Well, we do our best to scramble the conscious recollection of the subconscious programming, but they usually do have a little bit of memory. They remember bits and pieces here and there.
Okay, okay, I see. And by doing hypnosis, what's the percentage of it's successful? Let's say if somebody wants to stop smoking or someone has anxiety.
Well, that's multifactorial. I mean, we have studies based on my recordings, for example, that I promote online. We found that with stopping smoking, we have close to 100% success rate. It's around, it's in the high 90s, I believe 97%. With weight loss, we're also in the 90s, the lower 90s. But you got to understand, when you design a test like that, it's multifactorial. It depends on a lot of conditions. What recording did they use? How long did they use it? Who was on the recording? What were they like beforehand? There's so many factors that designing a test like that is very difficult. But for the tests that we've done, we score in the 90s with success on weight loss and stopping smoking.
Okay, and are you able to hypnotize someone if they have fears or problems of anxiety also?
Oh, absolutely. That's one of the most common things that people come in for, even if they don't realize it. Usually if they're smoking or overweight, these are based on fears and anxiety-based actions that they're taking, such as smoking or overeating. So hypnosis is very good with those types of situations.
Is there any dangers to hypnosis, like any side effects that can happen?
Not that I'm aware of. I feel that anything could be misused in the absolute wrong hands. But a lot of what you see in Hollywood, about people doing silly things under hypnosis or committing crimes under hypnosis, that's simply not true. You won't do anything that violates your morals knowingly.
So let's say, like, exactly, like you can't hypnotize someone to pre-program them, let's say, on a certain date to go out and commit a crime of some sort.
No, that won't happen. And in the movie Curse of the Jade Scorpion by Woody Allen, that's exactly what does happen. Of course, that's a movie where he programs Woody Allen to commit crimes. And Woody Allen gets a call on the phone, and the voice on the other end says, Madagascar. And when Woody Allen hears Madagascar, he has to go rob his neighbor or rob a bank. That's what we call a post-hypnotic suggestion. But that doesn't work in reality because assuming Woody Allen was a moral person that would ordinarily perform acts like this, it simply won't work and cause him to become immoral and commit crimes.
Okay. I have a question for you from one of my audience. They saying, how can you get someone to give up their free will?
Get someone to give up their free will? I don't know. And I don't really want to know. I don't.
Okay.
We don't work with people giving up their free will. Everyone has free will, and I would say always do.
Okay, that was an audience question.
Okay, good question, but perhaps based on a misunderstanding of hypnosis. We don't want people to give up their free will. In fact, they willingly come into the office. They want to stop smoking. They want to lose weight. What we cause them to give up would be their bad habits that are actually working against their will.
Okay, yeah. You want to help them. You don't want to make them like mind slaves or something.
Right, exactly.
Obviously. So you've been on the Oprah Winfrey show, right?
No, I never have.
No, because there's a picture here, I guess, that you're hypnotizing Oprah.
Really?
From your website. It looks like Oprah. On my blog right here, it says SteveGJones.com, and it looks like Oprah, unless I'm mistaken.
Oprah. Well, let me go there right now. SteveGJones.com. You said?
Well, it's on my blog. It's on my blog. If you scroll down.
Where is your blog?
Well, I'll send it to you on Skype. I'll send it to you right now on Skype. Am I able to? I can't now because you're on voice.
I know. It's yes, the lady who looks similar to Oprah.
Yeah, I thought that's why I was looking for pictures to put my blog. I go, hey, what better picture than Oprah?
Hypnotizing Oprah. Hey, if you want to start that rumor, feel free.
Why not, eh?
She was also a television talk show host. Who's no longer active, and she came for a session and filmed a TV episode about it. But no, that's not Oprah. That's someone named Miss JJ.
Okay. Sorry about that. I thought it was really Oprah. I go because I was looking for pictures.
I'm going to tell all my friends I hypnotize Oprah from now on.
You probably could get away with it,
Yeah, there you go. Picture. What more do I need?
But oh yeah, I've got another audience question. But free will, you're going against it when hypnotized. When you bark like a dog, but that's more like you said. It's not clinical. It's more like stage hypnosis.
Yeah, that's hypnosis designed for fun. Equally true. I mean, people are very suggestible, and the stage hypnotist will get. I have a few friends who do that. They do stage hypnosis in Vegas. They have big shows, get people on stage who are very suggestible, and they have them do silly things. And absolutely, we're high on the test I was talking about. who are very suggestible. But what I do is clinical hypnosis, and where you don't have to be that suggestible. You just sit in an office, and I help you lose weight or stop smoking or overcome fears or anxieties.
And does that just take place in one session or many sessions?
It depends on what we're working on. Weight loss, I'd like to see someone for about 6 sessions. Smoking, I like to see someone for 3 sessions. The fear of flying, we can do that in 1 session. Different hypnotists have different ways they work. Some people do stop smoking in 1 session. That's fine, as long as they have a good system for that, and I know of a lot of people who do. So it's just an individual choice. So I've made a choice to have certain things take certain amounts of time because that's what I need to do my job the right way.
Okay, and what about like if you're nervous and you have to get calm nerves, how many sessions is that?
Well, that depends on what it's based on and what we find in the first session. I would recommend 3 sessions for that.
Okay.
Because normally in the first session we'll work on confidence, just building up the person's confidence. The second session we'll work on specific instances in which they've found themselves nervous in the past. And the third session we'll do a cleanup, anything I may have missed. Now I can do that in 1 session. In fact, all of my sessions are available on CDs and MP3s where I have just 1 session for every topic. But something like that would be 3 sessions.
Okay, because I've seen on your website that you have CDs because obviously I think you're in California, if I'm correct.
Well, I'm all over the place, but I am in California quite a bit, and I'll be doing some TV work in California next week, in fact.
Okay, and the thing is, obviously, we can't just go fly there because we're from Canada, and we could probably see we could probably like get your CD, right?
Oh, absolutely. 750 of my 9,000 hypnosis recordings are available on the CD, and then the rest of them are available on the downloads. But yeah, on the website, stevegjones.com, we have all of the downloads and the CDs that we have available.
Okay. The thing is, I've seen some of them, and there's like I think gold and platinum. What's the difference? Let's say someone gets like not the platinum but the gold. Would it still work?
Oh, it would. Gold is designed as a more budget-friendly recording. They're about $30 as opposed to platinum, which is about $80. So with gold, the thing about that is they're only 30 minutes as opposed to platinum being 60. They all have the same background. They all have the same music track, the same ocean track, whereas in the platinum, we use one of 5 different tracks. Gold, they all have the same intro and outro, whereas in platinum, we use one of 10 different intros and outros. In platinum, we also use a lot more engineering tricks that really help you relax and get some you like binaural tone, future pacing.
Okay, but it will still get the job done, but maybe longer.
No, I actually think that you could use the gold recordings to get the job done in the same amount of time. It's kind of like, you can get from Las Vegas to California in a Hugo or a Lamborghini. You're still going to get there, but you're going to feel a little bit better about the ride in the Lamborghini.
Definitely, for sure. I have I've seen because that you also do something called astral travel.
Yes.
Because that's how I found you, because I was doing research on astral travel, and that's how I came across your website, and it's very fascinating. If someone buys your CD, what would happen? They could actually astral travel, get out of their bodies, and go into another dimension. Is that how you perceive it?
Yes, that is exactly what it's designed for. You astral project every night anyway.
Right.
When you go to sleep, you do that. So this helps you consciously do it. Helps you get control of it consciously. Again, that's available at stevegjones.com. Or if you want a more elaborate program, a lot of information about it, that would be at theartofAstralprojection.com.
And that's your other website?
Yes, that's a more elaborate program. It's a lot more information about astral projection.
What is it called again?
theartofAstralprojection.com.
Okay, perfect. theartofAstralprojection.com. And let's say we buy this CD and everything. How long would it take before we could actually project?
Well, that's an elaborate program. I believe it's about 18 hours of material, something like that. So it's going to take you a while to get through it. Now, if you want just the quick version, that's available on SteveGJones.com.
Right.
So if you get the quick version, you could probably be up and running this evening. If you get the long version, you're going to have to study more, have a more thorough understanding of it, and you'll probably be more successful with it. So the short version, you can probably be up and running this evening. Some people, it takes a few weeks. You know, they have to practice. With the long version, you're going to need a few weeks just to get through the material, but you'll be better equipped once you get there.
Okay. When you astral travel, have you encountered entities of any kind?
Yes, they're called elementals. They're in the fourth dimension, sort of like we have dogs and cats here in this dimension. In the fourth dimension, we have something called elementals, and they're just very basic entities. They're just kind of hanging out there, just like dogs or cats would if we didn't, own them and make them live with us. And they're pretty much harmless. You know, just like a dog, you can get a dog angry, but if you stay away from them, they'll stay away from you. There are also other entities who have bad intentions, who I have encountered also.
Demonic? They're like demonic?
Yes. We would, throughout history, they've been called different things. Demon would be one of the names they've been given.
How do they look? I've always been interested.
It's just a very, in the astral world is very beautiful, and you can see things more clearly than you can in our three-dimensional world. So it's just a darkness, an absence of light. That's how they appear. And you can also feel their presence because it's a very ominous, negative feeling. But as long as you follow the procedures that I give you in the program, which would be clear your chakras, raise your kundalini, surround yourself with protective white light, you'll be fine.
Okay, I see. But when you do this, and how are you able to get back fast? It's just like, is it you have to think of your body and you come right back? Was there any dangers of you not coming back to your body?
No, you're still attached to your body by the silver cord, which attaches from your belly button, your umbilicus of your physical body, to the umbilicus or belly button, if you will, of your astral body. So all you have to do is think about going back to your body. In fact, that's usually the challenge. People get out of their bodies and they think about their body and they go back to it. So if anything, it's a real challenge to stay out of your body, but it's never difficult to get back in.
Okay, and the thing is, I've read on your website and everything that when we dream, we're actually out of our bodies.
Well, I don't believe I made that statement.
Or something along the lines, like every night, like I think when we dream, lucid dreaming, that's what it's called, right? When we leave our bodies?
No, that's a common misunderstanding too. And I understand how you got to that conclusion, but lucid dreaming is just dreaming. You become aware that you're dreaming.
Okay.
And able to take control of it, just like in a daydream. You can daydream about whatever you want. You have more control over it, or using your imagination, I should say. You're in charge of what you imagine. That's what lucid dreaming is like, except you become in charge of it in a dream. Now, that's just a dream. It's just fantasy that's happening in your head. Astral projection is different from that. That's when your soul is actually separated from your physical body, and you're moving in what we normally call the fourth dimension. Now, physicists consider the fourth dimension to be time. Metaphysicists consider the fourth dimension to be the astral realm.
Okay, because before, I think I heard you say that we do this every night.
Yes.
What is it we do every night?
Astral project.
Okay, and how do we know when we astral project every night? Like,
we often don't know. I mean, it's not something that's necessary to know. It's kind of like, how do you know your heart's beating, or how do you know you're breathing, or how do you know your cells are reproducing when they're damaged? These are things that happen automatically. You astral project naturally. In the astral projection program, what I do is I give you conscious control over it. I'm very aware of it, and you're able to control where you go.
Okay, because I always thought, like, I don't know, for some reason I thought, like, for the past 3 weeks I've been thinking, like, every time we dream and we see people, we're all like in a different dimension. But it just hit me that if I'm dreaming with someone I know, why would they be in the same dimension at the same time as me?
Right. If it's just a dream, then it's just something you're imagining, and we all do that every night. Also, we all dream every night. It's part of our sleep cycle.
Right.
But astral projection is different. It's not fantasy. It's not just in your head. It's actually happening realistically. It's happening in real life, but in the higher dimension, in the astral dimension.
Okay, and I think I've read you were a preacher before.
Yes, I was for the Church of Christ from 1990 to 1995.
Okay, Wow, that's amazing. And are you still part of it, or you just left it completely?
I've left the church completely. I still believe in God, but I have left the church. I'm no longer a practicing preacher.
Okay. I have some questions for you, if you don't mind, for my audience.
Go ahead.
Okay, good. How can you get someone to give? Oh no, okay, I read that one. What is wrong with people who cannot be hypnotized and, for example, not quit smoking?
Well, nothing's wrong with them. It just may be multifactorial. It could have to do with the hypnotist they're going to or the recording that they're using. Maybe it's not a good fit for them. Maybe they're just not very suggestible. So let's again back up. There's nothing wrong with them. It may be possible that they're just not very suggestible, and hypnosis wouldn't be good for them. They should use something like long-term talk therapy or something else, or cognitive behavioral therapy, or something that would be better suited for them. But in most cases, it's just a matter of needing to change hypnotists or needing to use a different recording. A lot of times people attempt to stop smoking when they're very busy in their lives. They just got in a new relationship, for example. They're just moving, they're just selling a house, and then they decide to quit smoking that week also. That's the way smokers tend to do things in a somewhat chaotic way. So it could be that they just need to take the time to do it the appropriate way.
Okay. Another question I have is, I have read where scientists say that we only tap into and use 10% of our brain. What I wonder can one do if they could tap into the other 90%?
Well, if we look at the brain on something that registers brain function, for example, an MRI, we would see that we actually do use all parts of our brain. There's no part of it that's dead unless there's some brain damage or not working. Every part of the brain has a function that does work. What people are usually referring to when they make statements such as that would be the fact that we have more potential than we really use. I mean, let's face it, very few people live up to their full potential that they could actually do. Things like hypnosis or behavioral any therapy that modifies your behavior or your cognitive capacities or the use of your cognition, anything like that, it's going to increase the percentage of your brain that you're using. But we say that in quotation marks because really it's sort of a misunderstanding that we only use 10% of our brains. There's a lot of it that we're not supposed to have conscious access to anyway. A lot of what the brain does is routine maintenance, sort of like in a building. You've got the cleaning crew and you've got plumbing going on. It really doesn't do you any good to have access to that, but it's still working.
Okay, okay, I get it. So it's always working, but there's some stuff that the brain it should be left untouched because it's not for us to use.
Right. And the subconscious mind is actually the majority of the mind. Our conscious mind, what we're aware of, is a small part. Subconscious mind is a large part. So this is a different discussion from the brain conversation. The brain, all parts are always working unless there's some kind of damage. Now, when we talk about the mind, we're talking about the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. We are actively participating in our conscious mind, which is, I guess, about 10% of the mind. The rest of it being the subconscious mind. We can go into the subconscious mind and become more active there through things such as hypnosis and suggestion and so forth, and take advantage of its capabilities by programming it instead of letting it run on autopilot. We can take further charge of it.
And the thing I've heard is that sometimes when we have fears or we're nervous, we're not actually nervous, but they say the subconsciousness. You're not afraid, but it's the subconsciousness. So I would be thinking that the subconsciousness is very, very powerful.
Right. And a lot of that's for our own good. We're afraid of fire, and we're afraid of heights, and we're afraid of dangerous people, and that's for our own good. And that's part of it is passed on genetically. We got here because our ancestors were the ones who had the good sense to run away from danger and so forth. So they were able to reproduce and pass on their genetic material. And so when we make decisions like that, they're based on the fact that we have inherited that genetically. But some things we pick up in this lifetime, and this gets into the nature versus nurture argument. So some of the things we picked up genetically, that's what we call nature. And nurture, that's the part that we can work on. We may have learned to be afraid of money, or we may have learned to think that people who make money are bad people. those are things we picked up in this lifetime that we really don't need, because if we want to be wealthy or if we want to be successful, we need to let go of those things. So those are the types of things we can work on.
Okay, and have you heard of something called Reiki healing?
Yes, I have.
And what's your thoughts on this?
I think it's wonderful. I think, I haven't researched it thoroughly.
Right.
I have researched it to some degree. I believe that the people who go to Reiki healers, myself included, I have friends who practice Reiki. I have had Reiki treatments. I think they have tremendous benefits from going to those sessions, myself included. I've had tremendous benefits from them. I don't understand exactly how it works, the full mechanism of the way it works, but I believe it's got its place in the healing world.
Okay, and it could also be done through telephone also.
My understanding is that, yes, it can be done remotely, such as telephone.
Yeah, telephone or something like that. I have a question over here. The fourth dimension is where Jesus was when he came into the upper room.
Okay, what was the question?
I don't understand the question. The fourth dimension is where Jesus was when he came into the upper room.
Okay, so that's from someone who's listening?
Yes, yes.
Okay,
yeah.
Probably could correlate biblical passages with metaphysics, which happens a lot, and I don't disagree with that. So apparently they're quoting a passage from the Bible talking about Jesus going to the upper room, saying that is, in fact, a metaphor for Jesus ascending from the third dimension to the fourth dimension. I wouldn't argue that, and I think that's very possible.
Okay. Another question I have is, how did you learn about this? Who were your teachers?
When they say this, do you know what they're talking about?
I think they're talking about the hypnosis.
Okay, I've had a lot of teachers with hypnosis. I also have a lot of academic degrees, as you know. I have
Yes.
a bachelor's degree in psychology, a master's degree in education, a specialist in education, and a doctorate in education. I've also studied psychology and the human mind at Harvard University. So a lot of my information comes from mainstream academic training and education. The rest of it comes from just little courses I've taken here and there over the past 20 plus years.
Okay. Another question I have, it's great because we have a lot of questions this week for you because they're really interested, which is great. What's the difference between hypnosis and mind control?
Okay, well, some people would actually say that there's no difference. However, I say that the difference is that, in mind control, whatever that may be, I'm not even sure how we would define mind control per se, but mind control sounds to me like you're trying to get into someone's mind and control it and make them do something. Whereas in hypnosis, we understand that that's not really what happens. You're actually creating a synergy with the person, and you're working with them. Like when I have a client come into my office, client or patient, use either word, we talk about what they want to have happen. Now, there is a branch of hypnosis called street hypnosis or conversational hypnosis, in which you are attempting to get the person to do something in particular. That's not necessarily hypnosis, though. That's more in the realm of neuro-linguistic programming, which would be an entirely different discussion.
No, it would be. Another question I have is, doing all of this, does this go against the Bible, or is it okay to do all of this, like Reiki and hypnosis, hypnotherapy, astral travel?
Well, I can tell you from personal experience. I got involved in this in high school, and I got out of high school in 1985 and started getting into hypnosis and practicing it. And I was just beginning my academic education at that time. I became a preacher in 1990, so I was practicing hypnosis and going to the University of Florida studying psychology for 5 years, between 1985 and 1990. When I became a preacher for the Church of Christ, I stopped practicing hypnosis actively for 5 years, from 1990 to 1995. And that was out of respect for the people in the church where I was preaching. I felt that they didn't feel comfortable with it, they wouldn't really understand it, and I was okay with that. I don't think it goes against the Bible. In my opinion, it doesn't. And when you say go against the Bible, that's a huge discussion. There's so many different interpretations of the Bible depending on which religious group you belong to, even in Christianity.
Yeah.
So, in my personal opinion, it does not go against it, but so as not to offend anyone, I keep the two separate.
Okay, yeah, like I meant, like, let's say something like astral traveling within Christianity.
Well, as the person pointed out earlier, there are passages in the Bible that could very well lend themselves to, could very well be descriptions of the astral world. I mean, if we are to accept the fact that the astral world exists as a natural part of the world, then it's something that we would then have to say that God created. And if God created it, then is it bad? You know, this obviously gets into a huge discussion. It could easily turn into a huge debate, but I would say that it does not go against it. However, I respect the fact that some people feel that it is something separate from the Bible and separate from Christianity and other religions.
Okay. Yeah, it makes perfect sense. I mean, we'd be debating this all night, you know, and we'd still wouldn't have a conclusive answers because everybody has a different view on this.
Right.
I have another question from one of my audience members. They're saying when one has a dream that is just like a real life experience, but in a different time, does that show that we have had previous lives?
It could be an indicator. So again, just to make it clear, the person's having a dream about a previous, something that happened in a previous life of theirs, not this life. Is that correct?
Well, I'll read it again. When one has a dream that is just like a real life experience, but in a different time, does that show that we have had previous lives?
Okay, well, oftentimes it is. Oftentimes that's what's going on. But you can have a dream about anything. A dream can just be fantasy. You can dream about, you know, Bugs Bunny and being on the moon. That doesn't mean that you ever met Bugs Bunny or went to the moon. It's just a fantasy in your head. However, some people have dreams about, you know, living in specific time periods, such as ancient Egypt, for example. And they remember being a priest in the pyramids and so forth. And that could very well be an example of them remembering a past life. However, we would have to go a little further, and that's why I like to probe using hypnosis, get some more information, see if their descriptions are actually accurate concerning the facts about that time, you know, who was in charge, what do you see around you, and then check that against actual recorded history. But in many cases, it turns out to be absolutely true.
Because I always thought, like, we only had one life. Like, and we die and we go to heaven or hell or whatever. Like, I didn't think, like, reincarnation, I don't know where it says in the Bible. Maybe it does say it somewhere that I don't know, I'm not aware of.
Yeah, that's, you know, that's one of the reasons when I was a preacher I separated the two. I wrote a book on past life regression, which is based on the premise that there is reincarnation. However, I was very careful at the beginning of the book to say, I don't know if there is such a thing as reincarnation, but here is what we think. Here's the theory anyway, and it does seem to have a lot of evidence supporting it. But, you know, we're not really going to know until the final day. That's when we'll find out.
That's so true. I mean, there's so much unanswered for.
Yeah.
Are you, when you do astral travel, astral projection, are you able to go back in time?
Yes, in advanced astral projection, you can do that. You can access what we call the Akashic records, which are records of everything that's ever happened or will happen. So in a sense, that's time travel. Sort of like time travel through the History Channel on TV, though you're just watching it. So actual time travel, I'm not aware of. However, accessing historical information, I am aware of.
So let's say I can't go back to like 1990 and watch what I was doing.
Right. Yeah, I'm not aware of you being able to actually do that. In fact, physics agrees with this. They believe that, you know, traveling forward in time is a possibility, but moving backward in time doesn't happen. Now, I'm not saying that's the truth. I'm not saying that's definitive. I'm just saying that's what everyone seems to agree on. However, yeah, there's nothing stopping you from watching it. Physics also tells us that if you can get far enough away from the Earth, if you can outrun the speed of light, which they say is not possible, but if you, let's say you happen to be at a faraway planet and a TV program was being beamed out into space and it hadn't reached your planet yet, well, by the time it reached you, you could watch it, and it would seem like you were watching the past. However, you're just watching it when it reached your planet. So, you know, little tricks and thinking like this can allow us to believe that that traveling to the past is possible, but at the very least, and it may or may not be, I don't know, but at the very least we can in fact watch the past as it did happen.
Okay, but you could go in the future, right?
Well, physics says that you can move into the future. I mean, as we define it in physics, if you send out a person, take the old Einstein story that he used to, or became very popular around his time when he was developing relativity and general relativity. If you take two people that are age 20s, send one out into space for 60 years, they come back and they've only aged 5 years because they've gone close to the speed of light. And the person on Earth, who is the same age, has actually aged 60 years. So one person is now 25 years old, one person's 80 years old. Did the 25-year-old travel into the 80-year-old's future? Well, they did and they didn't. What really happened is time seemed to be moving more slowly for them because they were moving closer to the speed of light. However, we could also argue that they traveled into that person's future. So we get into little mathematical and physics tricks like that, and we can feel that time travel into the future is possible, but really it's based on our, I think, a misunderstanding of time itself.
Have you ever gone into the future yourself?
Well, in the physics sense, anytime you move closer to the speed of light, you're moving a little bit into the future. So yes, on that regard. But in the astral realm, and as far as metaphysics goes, I have not.
Okay. And when you astral travel, you could go just about anywhere in planet, space, in an instant, if I'm correct, from what the information that I've read.
Yeah. Astral projection allows you to move in the fourth dimension, which is really not limited by distance. We think of distance like from here to from where I am to Montreal, Canada, is quite a bit of a distance.
Right.
However, in the astral world, I could be there instantly.
Okay. I also have another question because last year people were telling me that in the fourth dimension you could also do astral sex.
Yep. People do that all the time.
And apparently it's even better than real sex.
Well, when you say better, it's more spiritual, obviously, because you're just spirit. So you've got just your soul interacting with just someone else's soul. So in a sense, it is deeper. However, there's no physical contact. You got to understand there's no physical body contact. So it depends on, I guess, your taste. What you define as better. So it's deeper in the sense that it's more spiritual, but there's no physical interaction.
Okay. So because I thought when this person told me this that they were just throwing me a line over here, just telling me something. And
You did what?
no, I just thought when this person told me that they did this, I thought it was just like a joke,
Oh, you didn't believe them? Yeah, no, that's very popular. I had that in my program also at the artofastralprojection.com.
Okay, yeah, I think you talk about it also. But in order to do this, both people have to astral project into the fourth dimension.
You want to have consent among both people, obviously. So yeah, they both have to be in their astral body, and then they can interact on a sexual level.
Okay, but then at least no one can get pregnant, I would imagine.
Not that I know of. You never know.
Exactly. I have a few questions over here. Doesn't television use a form of hypnosis with the public via TV commercials and movies? Children look like they are in a trance when watching TV.
Oh, absolutely. Advertisers have known this for years. Usually they're using more NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. For example, common technique used in advertising is to get you in a state of mind where you're seeing happy people, they're singing, they're smiling, and then all of a sudden they talk about the product, as if the product were related to the happy people. They'll sell all kinds of, poisonous water, for example, that they call soda. They'll show people drink the nonsense water full of carbonation and caramel coloring and so forth, and singing a song, and everyone's happy. And then they talk about the product when everyone's feeling happy. There's no logical connection between feeling happy and putting that stuff in your body. In fact, we know that putting that stuff in your body is very hazardous and leads to a lot of diseases and so forth. It contributes to diabetes. So they create these false connections in order to sell it to you, and this happens all the time.
Yeah, like all these soft drinks that they put all the time.
Right. Soft drinks, food substitutes, meat substitutes, all kinds of products that you don't really need, all kinds of clothes that you don't need, vehicles that are overpriced, that make you feel that you need them because you need to compete with your neighbors, things like that. We're constantly bombarded with these things. And
cell phones nowadays.
I'm sorry?
Cell phones.
Yeah, that's a perfect example. Cell phones. A cell phone's purpose is to make a phone call and send texts and maybe send pictures. And most cell phones do that. However, cell phone companies compete to, who's the coolest, who's the sexiest cell phone, which cell phone is going to make you feel better about yourself. This is all nonsense, but we take it in and we take it as real because the advertising agencies are so skilled at manipulating us.
And it's as if, like, every time I see the new cell phone, every 2 years I always want to get it. Like, I don't need it, but it's like something, it's like I always have to get it. Like, now I have the newest one, Galaxy S4, and it's like unbelievable, but it's like, why do I need it? It's like, it's just like a thrill that I get, and because you see it everywhere, and everybody talks about it, it's as if it's some sort of hypnosis.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They want to, it's just like social media marketing. The more people who are looking at, the more likes there is on something, the more people want to like it. The more people who are shopping at a store, the more people want to shop at a store. The more people that they see using that cell phone, the more people want to use that cell phone. So we're constantly manipulated by things on all levels. And it would be very difficult to figure out which choices we're actually making and which choices we're being led to make.
Right. It's a marketing scheme in a way.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what it is.
I have another question for you. What about Savant? Sometimes children where a 5-year-old can play Beethoven on the piano.
Well, that's potentially, and I know what the question's asking, were they Beethoven in a past life, or were they some famous composer in a past life? That's quite possible. Alternatively, what we often see in families where they have a quote-unquote savant is that they have parents who are getting them the piano lessons, who are making them play piano all day long and practice. So usually when we see someone that we think is a savant, we look a little further, we see parents who are actually pushing that child. But in the absence of that, when we see a child having a natural inclination to play a musical instrument, it does raise a question, and it is potentially an example of reincarnation in which a person was an accomplished piano player in a past life.
Okay. Donna says, "Hi Robert and Mario, and especially to Steve. I have bought many of Steve's downloads and programs. I wish I knew about this earlier. Hi Steve, I get your emails too."
Well, hello. I'm glad you get them. I'm glad you enjoy them.
She's one of my somebody in my audience, and she's Christian also. So it's great that people are more open-minded.
Oh, absolutely. That's wonderful.
She also says in my chat room, "I love your self-hypnosis CDs and have the platinum gold and many of your programs."
Oh, awesome. Well, thank you very much. Thanks for your support, and I hope you're enjoying them and getting the changes in your life that you want out of them.
Is auto-hypnosis the same type of thing that you do?
Well, auto-hypnosis is also self-hypnosis, like you're hypnotizing yourself. And yes, I do that through recordings. I think the easiest way to hypnotize yourself is to use a recording.
Because I have a CD, but it's that I've been using every once in a while, and it's French, and it's called auto hypnosis, and you have to breathe in, breathe out. Imagine that you're in a paradise city, island, and there's music and everything, and I can't even move after. And then when I wake up, I'm completely relaxed. Is that something good to do? Is that something that you do also?
Yeah, I do have some frequent exercises in my hypnosis recordings. I don't know what's on the specific recording that you are using, so I'm not able to comment on that.
Okay.
But it does sound like it's at least meditation, if not hypnosis.
It's because it's in French. It's called auto hypnosis, and what it does is it says you have to ask a question in your mind, and after a while, it'll come in, maybe in your sleep, the answer to your question.
That is possible. I mean, there are some studies that show that actually does work. It's not guaranteed it will definitely happen, but it very well could. That's worth a shot.
Is that what you do also? That's what my question is. Like,
I don't specifically. I don't remember ever programming someone or suggesting to them that they would have an answer in their sleep. I think it's a great idea.
Okay.
I think a lot of hypnosis come to people in their sleep anyway, and I'm certainly in favor of it, and I may start doing it.
Okay, yeah. This is great, that we're able to, because it's to relax also, and it also says to visualize a part of your body that needs healing, and just to concentrate on that, and to concentrate on a white light, and it'll help you out.
That always helps. With astral projection, that always helps. Surrounding yourself with a white light, like a ball around you that's protecting you.
Okay. I have another question here. Do I have? No, no. Well, no. Okay. Yeah, I have a question right here. Do you think that one could have a dream of the future and it could actually come true?
I do. I do. I mean, sometimes it's coincidence. Sometimes we have dreams about things that are logical. Going through school, I have a dream about graduating, then I graduate. It's not really a premonition. It's just based on what was going to happen anyway as a result of my hard work. Now, if I have a dream about my Aunt Marion showing up at my home, my Aunt Marion's about 94 now, by the way, and she doesn't travel much, and then she shows up at my home, I'm going to think twice about that. I'm going to think that's probably a premonition. So when we separate logical end results from things that are less likely, and you get the less likely ones in a group and look at those, a lot of those are probably premonitions.
Okay, premonitions more than anything else.
Right, especially when it's very unlikely. If you dream something just completely off the wall that would normally not happen, and then it happens, that's in the category of things that should be examined. And if you continue to have dreams like that and things continue to come true like that, then I would say you have a strong case for being psychic and being able to see the future.
Okay, and have you ever experienced something called sleep paralysis?
Yeah, that's a normal occurrence. Anytime we dream, we have sleep paralysis. So, for example, let's say tonight you dream about jogging down the street. Sleep paralysis happens naturally, so your body does not get up and jog down the street in your dreams. If it did, that would not be good. So that's something that happens to us every night as we go through the dream cycle. Our body becomes paralyzed, so that in a good way, so that we don't get up and act out our dreams. And I have experienced it just like everyone else has.
Because the thing is, I've had sleep paralysis where I've had these shadow figures come into me, and then I was in another dimension.
Okay, so that's probably an example of astral projection. I had the same thing where I was not able to move, even though I wanted to, and I felt that there was some sort of entity there. But then by using my will, I was able to shake myself out of it and move. What's usually happening there is that you're in some sort of a dream state just enough that your body is still paralyzed, so for your own good, and you need to wake yourself up a little bit in order to be able to move.
But the thing is, it's like I felt this evil coming into me, and I felt like I was in a different dimension. Is that something evil, like demonic? That's what I'm wondering.
Yeah, that could very well be an example of astral projection, and I've had the same thing happen. It's horrifying. It's not pleasant at all. And you want to avoid that in the future, just before if you did consciously attempt to do that, then surround yourself with a white light before you do it. If you just found yourself where you're just trying to sleep and you woke up like that, that happens a lot. There's really not much prevention that can be done, except as you go to sleep tonight, you may want to imagine your body surrounded by white light and do that every night before you go to sleep. It only takes a couple of minutes and could save you from some challenges like that down the road.
It happened to me. It started like a long time ago when I used to play the Ouija board many years ago. But I've long stopped playing with such things.
Okay, yeah, nothing really great ever comes from playing with the Ouija board, and I've done that too. It's something that scares you. It's usually kind of spooky and a little bit negative. Usually you're contacting someone who's deceased and asking them to move your hands and signal stuff, and that leads to a lot of nightmares, and sometimes these entities kind of take advantage of the situation.
Exactly, so it's not something healthy you want to do, so maybe I open up a portal or something, but it hasn't happened to me since.
Okay, good. Yeah, I would just say put the Ouija board away. I don't do that anymore either. I thought it was fun as a kid, but it usually doesn't lead to anything good.
No, I'm sure it doesn't. Do you ever do telephone sessions also? Hello?
I'm sorry, Robert. It broke up a little bit.
Oh, okay. Yes, I was going to say, do you ever do telephone sessions also?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. I don't know if you heard my question.
Telephone sessions, yes.
Okay.
Yes. On on the website stevegjones.com, I've got telephone sessions available.
Okay. And is there like different price range for these things?
There's one price range you're going to find it's quite high, actually. So usually I suggest that people get a recording instead. Just find a recording that's appropriate for their needs and use that instead.
Okay.
The price I charge per phone and in-person sessions is fairly high just because, you know, I could spend that same hour in a recording studio and help thousands of people with a recording. But if someone wants my one-on-one time, they've got to understand they're taking away from helping thousands of people. So the price is set high accordingly.
Okay, okay. But yeah, obviously, that's it, you know. But do you have any videos on YouTube that show like how to get hypnotized, or just recordings?
That show how to get hypnotized. I don't think I do. I have a lot of hypnosis sessions where I do a hypnosis session on YouTube.
Okay.
Type in my name, Steve G. Jones. You're going to find a few of those. But I have a program on my website, stevegjones.com, that teaches you how to do that. Enroll in a formal program. That's the best way to learn.
Okay, so you have like a lot on just about anything.
Lot of what on the hypnosis recordings you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yes, we've covered about 250 topics in the recordings, just based on people, you know, sending an email saying, "Do you have a recording on this or that?" And we say no, but we will soon, and we put it on the to-do list, and then I make a recording about it.
What's your most popular one that people ask?
Weight loss. Definitely weight loss, and then below that would be wealth, generating wealth. So weight loss and is number one, and then unlimited wealth is number two.
Oh, so you have unlimited wealth also?
Oh yeah, it's a top seller. It's been a top seller for at least 10 years now for us.
What's the success rate of that one?
We have not tracked that one. Wealth is very difficult to track because when you design a scientific test about wealth, there's so many different parameters. What you define as wealth may be different from what someone else defines as wealth. Plus, it depends on what you're starting with. You know, how long you're keeping the money, what kind of investment portfolio you have, if you have one. So it's hard to track. Smoking is easy to track. You're either smoking or you're not.
You don't, yeah.
A yes or a no. Weight's pretty easy to track. You've either achieved your goal or you haven't. But wealth tends to change so much because people have bills, so they can have, you know, $100,000 today, but maybe they haven't paid their bills in a month, and maybe they're going to pay them tomorrow. So the reading they give today is going to be different than the reading tomorrow. So we don't track that, but we've had a lot of positive feedback. I've never had any complaints about the recording, and I think we've helped a lot of people with it.
Okay. What's your view on The Secret and the law of attraction?
I think The Secret's awesome. I was hanging out with Michael Beckwith from The Secret a few days ago. I just posted a picture today on my Facebook page. I talked to Joe Vitale yesterday from The Secret. We email back and forth. Sometimes we have phone conversations, and we created a new product together. We've got 4 products together now. I've met Lisa Nichols from The Secret, John Asheroff from The Secret wrote the foreword to my book, You Can Attract It, that I wrote with Frank Mangano. So I have a lot of ties with the people from The Secret. I believe in The Secret. I believe that, you know, when the movie came out, it's a movie in the book, and I was kind of shocked that people didn't know this. I thought, well, that's just, you know, everybody knows that, but as it turns out, a lot of people didn't know that. And The Secret was serving a valuable purpose, which was getting spiritual information to people who wouldn't have otherwise ever been exposed to it. So I think it's very valuable.
But from what I've heard, it's very hard to use.
It's designed to be very easy to use. You just focus on what you want, and then you get it. So it's very user-friendly from what I've seen and my experience and in my interpretation. What you may be referencing is that maybe people don't always get what they want. Is that what you mean?
Well, it's sort of a way like that, and you're always focusing on stuff you don't want. Like, I don't want to be sick. I don't want to have this problem. I'm always having this problem. What do I do? And the more you have the problem, like, you want to get rid of the problem to begin with, let's just say. But then what happens is you're always focusing. Oh, it's not getting better. Why am I sick? Why am I like this? Why am I like this? And it seems like the more you do it, the more it doesn't go away, because the more the universe asks you, gives you what you're thinking and focusing of. So there must be some way to get out of it.
Right, well, that can happen, and they talk about that in The Secret as they sort of give the prescription for success. You got to focus on what you want and stop focusing on what you don't want. So, yeah, that's where things like hypnosis come into play. They can get you more focused on it, because you're right. If you're thinking, okay, I want to lose weight, but then I start focusing on the negative. Okay, I better not eat that. I better not eat that. I better not gain weight. And then you find yourself focusing on gaining weight when you're trying to focus on losing weight. I see what you mean. That's where hypnosis and positive suggestions come into play. So you've got to do a little bit of extra groundwork on your own. But they do talk about that in The Secret. They do talk about staying focused on what you do want and avoiding a focus on what you don't want. But as humans, I know what you mean. We tend to gravitate toward the negative sometimes. But it just takes practice like anything else.
But the thing is, it's like, we always focus on what we don't want, and instead of what we do want, and it seems like we want to get away from the stuff more than what we actually want.
Yeah. Well, I would avoid making blanket statements such as "we always do," because we don't always do that. I don't do it, for example.
Well, I mean, most people, I should say, or a lot of people.
Yeah, a lot of people do, right? And I agree with that. But a lot of those people can also train their minds. They can have exercise some discipline and train their minds to get away from focusing on those negative things.
How do you do that, though?
Well, as I've said, through things like hypnosis that can reprogram your mind. Also making positive suggestions to yourself. What I like to do is just write them on the mirror. I take a black Sharpie pen, a magic marker, and I write on my mirror 3 things I want to work on for a 3-week period. I state them in the now, as if they've already happened. I state them in the positive, such as I am abundant, for example. Something that's very straightforward. You can make it even more specific if you want a certain amount of money in the bank or want to lose a certain amount of weight. State it as if it's already happened. Put that on your mirror, and you can put up to 3 suggestions at a time. I wouldn't do more because that could overload your mind. The mirror, you write on your mirror in your bathroom, and just take one of those green scrubby pads with only water, scrub right off. But that's a way to remind yourself in the morning before you go out about your day, in the evening when you're brushing your teeth and so forth. You see it, and it gets in your mind. So even if you don't want it in your mind, it gets in your mind. Sort of like a song that you don't want to have in your mind, but it gets in there anyway. It's going to get in there because you're being exposed to it at least twice a day.
Okay, so it's kind of, you sort of have to pretend that it's there when it's not there.
Yeah, exactly. It's sort of a fake until you make it type thing, but your subconscious mind doesn't know that. Your subconscious mind accepts it as fact. And the more you expose yourself to these quote-unquote facts, such as, I have X amount of money in the bank, or I have lost, or my weight is now, X pounds or what have you, or X kilograms. The more you expose yourself to that, the more your subconscious mind says, hey, this is real. Let's find a way to make it real in our everyday reality.
And, okay, the same thing with fear. If you have a certain fear, and it's from the subconsciousness level, you have to sort of trick the subconsciousness into believing it like that. It'll make you better, and it won't make you have that fear of a certain thing.
Exactly. That's one way to overcome fear. Another way to overcome fear is through progressively exposing yourself to the thing that you're afraid of in your mind and desensitizing yourself. That's commonly how we deal with fear. But what you said is also true. If you're saying it over and over that you overcome that fear, eventually your subconscious mind is going to accept that.
Okay, that's great. Also, another question that I have is what's your future plans? What are you planning on doing? Any new types of CDs that you're going to be planning in the near future?
Sure. We've got Joe Vitale and I have a great project going with Patty Stanger, the millionaire matchmaker on Bravo, it's American TV channel.
Okay.
And we created a product called AttractingAsoulmate.com. So Joe Vitale and Patty Stanger and myself got together and created this powerful product. And we'll probably be doing more things like that in the future. Let's see what else is coming up. Joe and I are doing a few products in the near future about creating wealth. I believe we have some plans for that. We've already done a few in the past, such as wealthtrigger.com, wealth-trigger.com. We've got a past life regression program that we're going to be filming in about 2 weeks. That's going to be good. Again, based on the idea that we have lived before and that we can access those memories. That's coming up. I just created a program on karma, how you can deal with karma and set yourself free from it. And by the way, the answer is don't do anything bad. That's how you get free of karma. So now you've already know how the book ends.
Yeah.
And we've always got some new products coming up. We've got a product on the third eye, activating the third eye coming up. More academic products. I've got an Ericksonian hypnosis program that was created a few months ago, which is very popular now. It's the only complete, fully online Ericksonian hypnosis program based on the teachings of Milton Erickson. So a lot of stuff that's just come out, a lot of stuff that's still in production, and a lot of stuff in the near future.
Well, that's great, but wonderful. But I'd be interested in knowing what exactly is your third eye. Is that the pineal gland that you can go in different states of mind?
Yeah, it's the physical aspect of the third eye would be the pineal gland, and it is the program is going to be designed to help people access more of their psychic powers and seeing things beyond what we see in our three-dimensional reality.
And it's going to be on your website when it's completed.
That won't be on my website. We'll have a separate website for that. But if you sign up at stevegjones.com on my email list, we'll let you know when it's ready. We're kind of maxed out on the website. We've got too many things on there already. Okay. So now people know by email when they express an interest in being on my newsletter list. That's when we notify them about what's going on.
Okay. And are these CDs downloadable, or you send them? Are they downloadable on your computer?
Yeah, some of the products we create as CDs also. It really depends on how popular they are. If something's really popular, like the Wealth Trigger with Joe Vitale, very popular, so we put it in CD. CD creates a lot of expense for us, and realize we already have 750 products on CD. So we don't put something on CD unless it's a blockbuster, unless it really sells a lot. But it will at least be available in MP3 download. Everything's available at least in MP3 download.
Okay, and that's, I guess you just put in your information and you get it right away as soon as the payment comes in.
Yeah, that's the great thing about MP3s. You can listen to it on your iPhone or your Galaxy or whatever you have,
yeah.
or your computer, and it is insane.
Okay, I have a question for you from one of my audience. It's kind of long, so bear with me. I believe that evil is real. I believe that it is present and can make people into evil monsters. Call it Lucifer or whatever it is, an actual presence in our world. What do you think?
Yeah, I believe that, evil's part of the deal. We've got good and we've got bad. You're not going to have good without bad or bad without good. It's just part of the deal. So you're not going to have day without night. How would we define one without the other? How would we know what's good unless there was evil? So it's sort of the yin and yang of the universe, and I fully agree with that.
Do you think the stuff, the hypnosis and everything, do you think like somehow the devil himself could be involved in this because he masquerades around as an angel of light? Could there be any danger to any of this?
Okay, well again, what you're saying is based on Christian teachings.
Yeah.
Christian teachings, which I understand.
Because I have a Christian audience here also. Well, I have a vast audience, but I also have Christians over here who wonder, So I like to like on my show let everybody know every angle of every aspect of everything.
Oh, I think that's great. The questions are awesome. I believe that anything could be misused, and if we were to embrace a belief such as Satan existing, then it is highly conceivable that he or it could get a hold of this technology and work through it. I think that's possible. I have not seen any examples of it, nor have I heard of any, but I believe that's all possible.
Okay. I have a question here. What is your take on the New World Order?
Wow, we're getting into conspiracy theory now. That's fascinating. You do cover everything.
I do cover, yeah. I cover a lot of I cover conspiracy theories, aliens, hypnosis, psychic healing. I try to cover a lot of stuff.
I love it. Well, I love conspiracy theories. They're fascinating to study, and there may be some validity to them. Actually, the New World Order, I don't have any experience with it. I don't believe I'm part of any movement or anything. But I used to listen to this radio program back in the '90s when I was a preacher. It was by Chuck Harder, Harder, and he was out of Florida. He had his own broadcasting company, at his own studio. He broadcasted himself, and he had an AM radio show that I really enjoyed. And he was always talking about conspiracy theory, the New World Order, the Trilateral Commission, the families who run the world, and so forth. I personally don't have an opinion on any of that, but I do find it fascinating, and I do think it is possible, but I'm just not versed enough on the information to be able to contribute meaningfully to the conversation.
Okay, yeah, like you don't know about like the 13 families, the Illuminati, stuff like that.
I had a guy come in and do a video thing with me recently. He came to my home and he recorded some videos, and he said he was a member of the Illuminati. He didn't say that before he came over, but he announced that once he was in my living room. I don't know. He didn't have an Illuminati membership card, so no. I don't know how you verify any of that. But he seemed like a nice guy. He seemed like a good guy. I don't really know enough about the Illuminati to know if they're dangerous or good or what they do, or if they have meetings or how you join or anything like that. But I have met at least one person who claims to have been a member.
Okay, well, the Illuminati is an evil group, the bankers that control the world, and what they want to do is they want to destroy the economy of the United States and turn everything to global government. That's my understanding of the Illuminati.
Okay, well, in that case, I'd say I'm probably going to avoid this.
Yeah.
All right, I didn't realize that, but I have heard, now that you say that, this brings back memories of when I used to listen to Chuck Harder on the radio, and I remember him talking about things like that. If there is a world like that going on, it's possible. There are all kinds of things going on that we don't know about. Just like in our bodies, all kinds of physiological processes we're not aware of. I think that's quite possible. There's probably been things like that going on since the beginning of humankind.
There is, and in fact, John F. Kennedy did talk about secret societies, that there is a global elite that run the world. He said that, I think, in 1962, and a couple of years later he was killed. The JFK Secret Society speech, if you YouTube it, you'll see what I mean, if you're ever interested in knowing more about that.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I'll check into it. Like I said, I find conspiracy theory fascinating. Aliens, did we go to the moon, that kind of thing. It's very fascinating. I've never had enough information to, speak convincingly about it or to be able to contribute meaningfully to the conversation. Very interesting.
Yeah, really. Yeah, Mario.
I have a question concerning aliens. A while ago, I think it was on Unsolved Mystery or one of these shows, there was someone this hypnotist, he hypnotized people that were abducted by aliens on UFOs. That's fascinating. Have you ever did you ever hypnotize someone that got that experience? Because that's like out of this world. That's like, wow.
Yeah, when I had my office in Beverly Hills, a lady came to me and she had 3 kids. And she said that she had been impregnated 6 times by aliens. Now, I don't remember if her kids were supposed to be aliens or not, but she had 3 physical kids, actually. But she said she had been impregnated beyond that 6 separate times by aliens. They had abducted her and impregnated her. I wasn't able, as a hypnotherapist, I'm not trained as a psychologist or a psychiatrist. I wasn't able to figure out if she was a little bit off kilter mentally, or if she was being honest, but she seemed to feel that she was telling the truth. And so she wanted me to hypnotize her and have her remember the events, and I did. I found it fascinating. Whether or not that's part of reality, whether or not that actually happened, I don't know. That's been my one and only experience with that. I'd like to explore more about that because I actually found it very interesting. It made my work day much more interesting than I thought it would be that day. But I don't have any further information.
What are your thoughts on UFOs? Do you think they exist?
I don't know. I mean, when you think about let's go back to the beginning of time, and I don't want to offend any Christian beliefs here, but let's look at it as it's taught usually in school nowadays. which is that we came from a singularity, the singularity being the condensed matter of the entire universe, all existence in one little pinpoint, and then it exploded, it expanded outward. So if it expanded outward, if we can look out, we can see that galaxies are actually moving away from us at close to the speed of light. If we all expanded at the same time, then when would another civilization have had the time to develop faster than us? If we all started at the same time, how would they have gotten ahead of us to the point that they're able to travel to us, but we're still not even able to travel? We've never put a human on Mars yet, so we're not even able to get out of our solar system, and we're saying that they somehow took a leap ahead of us. What we'd have to do is rewrite science and say that, okay, forget the singularity that Einstein talked about. These people developed before us. They got way ahead of us, developed technology way ahead of us. The other possibility is that they're just a lot smarter than us, that we all started at the same time, but they're just brighter than us. And so they started visiting us.
Or does, go ahead.
Well, my argument hinges on the concept that if we all came from one, if we all started at the same time, the singularity theory is true. Why are they ahead of us? How come they have these flying discs when we're not even able to get a person to Mars? Now, that being said, I have heard a lot about cover-ups, Area 51. I have a friend who's all in Area 51, watches all the TV shows and so forth. There does seem to be a consistent body of evidence that points to, perhaps the military getting and seizing and analyzing flying discs. But I have no explanation for it.
Well, there could also be, it could be interstellar beings, demonic in nature, that want to create a great delusion that, well, the Bible speaks about a great delusion in the end times, which could be UFOs, which deals with the rapture. Like when the rapture happens, what are the people left on it? What are they going to be saying? What are the people going to be saying that they were like taken off by UFOs maybe? And if you notice now, there's a lot more UFO sightings and going on in society and everywhere in the movies, mainstream.
That could very well be, and I wouldn't argue that. That gets out of science as we know it into metaphysical science. So I really don't know, but that is quite possible.
Yeah, that's true. I have a question for you. What is tinnitus hypnosis program?
Well, tinnitus is just a ringing in the ears, and if you go to a doctor with tinnitus, they're probably going to say, hey, you shouldn't have gone to that AC/DC rock concert in the 1980s. You shouldn't have kept going. That's how tinnitus often happens. It's from hearing too much loud noise too often. It can also happen as a result of psychosomatic conditions. You could just imagine yourself having it and create it that way in your mind without actually having any physiological basis for it. So that's what we're looking at. Those people who have created psychosomatically, they just imagine their way into this ringing in their ears that's not really there due to any physiological abnormalities or injuries. When that's the case, hypnosis can kick in and can relieve the psychosomatic illness. So, but if there's a physiological basis, there's been some brain damage, some damage to the head that's led to ear damage and ringing and so forth, that is better treated by a medical doctor.
Psychosomatic, does that mean when you create your own problems?
Right, you just imagine it and then it happens. Like, if you think about being itchy, for example, focus on that for the next few minutes. Focus on having an itch behind your neck. Well, you could very well develop an itch that wouldn't have ordinarily been there. We can extrapolate that to all kinds of things. I mean, people can imagine their way into all kinds of nervous conditions. And there are a lot of illnesses, and I know this from talking to a doctor at Cedars-Sinai in Beverly Hills recently. There are a lot of conditions that medical science now acknowledges as being literally all in your head. You just create them by thinking that they're there.
How about if you have a certain type of, not illness but ailment, and it's gonna go away, but you're always thinking about it, and the nerves make it get worse? Is that psychosomatic?
Yeah, you can exacerbate something. You can make something worse that wouldn't ordinarily be that bad just by focusing on it and worrying about it. You get people who we call worry wards. Well, unfortunately, they can undo themselves. They can make themselves more sick than they would be just by really focusing on it and raising their anxiety, and the body responds in kind and actually creates more of the physical ailment.
So, and how do you get around it? You have to do like hypnosis therapy, meditation, I would presume.
Yeah, exactly. Anything that can, if it's a nervous condition, anything that can calm you down. Just, meditation is great. You know, sometimes people are workaholics; they don't take vacation. So vacation might do wonders, you know, for someone's health. Hypnosis can certainly help. Going to some kind of group meetings where, you know, other people have the same situation and talking through it can help relieve people and calm them down to the point where they're free of the ailment.
Okay, okay. Because you know, I know a lot of people that have nervous problems, and it just gets to them, and they always think about it, and it makes it worse, even when the doctor told them not to worry about it.
Right. It's kind of like what you're talking about, the law of attraction and the secret. Sometimes, you know, being told not to think about it causes you to think about it, and so then you have to think about that too. So yeah, it can be kind of a snowball effect that they need to kind of get a handle on. And that's where support groups can come in, and working with a professional can really help.
Okay, professional healers and stuff like that, you mean?
Right, exactly. Or even a psychiatrist or a counselor or a psychologist, you know, depending on their taste. Some people don't like psychologists or psychiatrists. They don't want to, you know, go to someone who might prescribe them a drug or might write down in a file that they have a certain you know, mental situation. They prefer to go to a psychic healer, for example, or a hypnotherapist or a Reiki person. I always say consult your medical doctor first, and then with their consent, do what you want, because you never know. There might be some kind of physiological situation going on that really needs to be dealt with by a medical doctor.
Okay, because sometimes even if the doctor says you'll be fine in a month, don't worry about it, but you still have the symptoms and you still worry about the symptoms, and it's all due to nerves. Like the problem is still there, but it'll go away, but you worry so much that the nerves activate it and make it a lot worse.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've had that situation myself. You know, I had a situation where I was having some tingling and so forth, and the doctor said, don't worry about it. And the more the doctor said, don't worry about it, the more I started thinking about it, until I realized what was going on. I realized that I was creating sort of a biofeedback loop. The more I worried about it, the worse it became. So once I was able to intellectually rise above it and see that I've got to interrupt this pattern, then I was able to stop it. But until that point, it was becoming worse just because I was focusing on it. And that's what happens to a lot of people. The doctor says, hey, just chill out and everything's going to be fine. And the person thinks, well, what if I don't chill out? I don't know how to chill out, that kind of thing. So that's where things such as meditation and hypnosis can really come into play.
Okay, that's one good way to look at it. I mean, because apparently the subconsciousness plays a big level. Like if you're afraid of something or you're nervous about something and you're not even thinking about it, it'll still come to your subconsciousness level. That's what I've been told.
Yeah, it can, but you know, again, the secret is the trick. I should say, so we don't label it as the secret. The trick is to just let go of all that, and that can be a little difficult. That can be where, you know, group counseling can help, where you talk to other people in a similar situation. Sometimes you'll see yourself in someone else. That's the beauty of a group counseling session. You'll see someone else in the situation. You'll think, wow, they're really messed up. You know, how'd they get in that situation? Then you realize, wait a minute, I'm the same way. And then you realize, I want them to let it go, but I'm going to let it go. I'm not going to be that person anymore. I see myself in them. I'm going to let it go now. And so that's where group therapy really comes in handy.
I see. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense in many ways. For sure, it does. But I have another question for you. How when you hypnotize someone, does the person have to be like in a relaxed state? They can't drink or eat anything like caffeine or anything like that. Do they have to be in a certain state?
To go into hypnosis, you mean?
Yeah.
Yes, they do. You know, some people come in and smoker, and they're just, you know, wanting their next cigarette, for example. Now, if they're working on stopping smoking, that's fine. That's just the way it goes. Of course, going in that state. But if they're working on something else and they're preoccupied thinking about their next cigarette, or they just had a lot of caffeine, or, you know, a 5-hour energy drink, or something like that, that's not really a good time to do hypnosis.
And it won't work.
Well, I wouldn't say it won't work, but you definitely cut down on the odds of it working.
Okay. I see. Well, Well, it was very interesting to. It was very interesting show to have you on, Steve. I really enjoyed having you on. It was an honor for both of us to have you on.
Exactly.
Well, thanks, guys. My pleasure being here, and I'll be glad to come back anytime.
For sure, you'll be welcomed anytime. I'll just contact you. I know how to get in contact with you, and if you ever want to come back or have any questions for me, just feel free to ask of anything.
And next time we'll even get you on Hangout. It'll be even better.
Get me on video. That sounds good.
Exactly.
Awesome, guys. Thank you.
Well, all right, thank you very much, and we'll talk again very soon.
Okay, I look forward to it. Thank
Okay.
you.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.
Good night.